Welcome to episode 9 of Hoop Talk Fanatics. I am here with my co-host, Chris Cohen, and I'm excited to be welcoming back John Fanta. And I'm really excited to hear what his thoughts are on the Big East as of now, and what his thoughts are overall with college basketball throughout the league. And welcome.
Yeah, great to be with you guys, Alex and Chris. It's been a fun college basketball season thus far. A lot of experience back on these teams with the COVID craziness of last year. It's led a lot of players to returning. So you've got big names across the landscape of the sport. Drew Timme in number 1, Gonzaga. If you like experience, Timme gives you that, as does an Andrew Nembhard. If you're looking for the flashy freshman, we have that too. Auburn with Jabari Smith and Duke with Paolo Banchero. And there are a number of teams, I think, that could win it all this year. I think Purdue flexed their muscles earlier this week against Illinois with a thrilling double overtime win in Champaign. I think Ochai Agbaji is a star and will be a star in the NBA. I really feel that way about his game. Kansas is a factor. Baylor, you can't forget about the reigning national champions. And here comes Villanova, now up to number 3 in the net rankings. College basketball is healthy. There are a number of teams that could win it all. Buckle up, gentlemen. This is going to be quite a ride as we head towards March.
Yes, definitely.
So the first question I had was, what has been your overall thoughts on the Big East this past 3 weeks?
Villanova's the king. The Wildcats hold the throne. They've won 6 straight games. They have the right 1-2 punch in their backcourt with Colin Gillespie and Justin Moore. Moore has averaged 20 points per game over his last 4 games. Eric Dixon, the redshirt sophomore, has taken a big step for Villanova. Had 15 and 10 last week against Xavier. This is a team that's finding their DNA on the defensive end of the floor, too. It might not be the best Villanova team. That's saying something because, look, you're talking about 2 national championship teams in the last 5 years. But they still get it done by managing the game. Colin Gillespie doesn't make mistakes, and they've now won 6 in a row. The question after that is, who's number 2? Could be Xavier. Could be UConn. Seton Hall's gotten off to a tough start in conference play, so it won't be them. Could it be Providence, who's 14-2 on the year and is really surprised behind Al Durham, an Indiana transfer, behind Nate Watson, a terrific center? I really think the Providence Friars are an underappreciated team nationally. Just 2 losses on the season. They defend you, they rebound the basketball well, and they have a great level of balance. There's a number of teams that could be number 2. The race is on, but everybody's chasing the Cats.
What do you think about Providence coming off a week and either a week or 2 weeks on hold with this COVID issue?
Tough for the Friars. Anytime you have to go through the COVID pause, and they were rolling with such great momentum, but they come off this COVID pause by hosting Georgetown and Butler, perhaps the 2 weakest teams in the Big East. So if you're going to come off a pause and try to ease your way back in a little bit, this might be as simple as it gets in this conference this season. I like the Friars, Alex. I really do. And I like them because if they have a healthy A.J. Reeves, he's been nursing a hand injury, but if he's healthy, he and Durham can play well off one another. Jared Bynum, a St. Joe's transfer, has continually gotten better. I love Noah Horchler. He's a stretch 4 who makes plays for them, makes timely shots. He defends. He plays mindlessly. And what I mean by that is he doesn't think too much. He just fits himself in and makes the right plays. And when you have all those elements, and I'm not even talking about a center in Nate Watson, who's a legit big man in the country, Providence has the pieces. They have balance. They don't rely on any one player to be great, which I like that about a team. I like a team that plays complete basketball. Providence plays complete complementary basketball, and Ed Cooley's done a real good job of matching up with opponents from game to game. They can morph the way they play. They could go zone one game. They can go man another. They could have Noah Horchler lead them in scoring one night. They could have Al Durham go for 20 points the next night. They have a terrific formula, and that's why they have 14 wins in 16 games. The Friars are for real.
Yeah, they've been on fire the past couple of games they had. They were definitely a team to look out in the Big East for sure.
Yeah,
With
they've been really impressive. I've definitely surprised me this season. Kind of being with especially the record they have, and yeah, you mentioned the COVID pause. They get the two games at home. That's going to be a great. I mean, they need find a way to win those two games at home and really get back into the Big East. I mean, those aren't Big East. It's not like those are just two cakewalks either. The Big East is a gauntlet for all these teams. So they got to come to play even off the pause and find a way to win these games. I feel like.
Yeah, nothing easy in the Big East. And for Butler, they were a team picked preseason number 6 in the league, but they have underperformed. They're still a gutsy team, and they still have Aaron Thompson and Bryce Enzi, Bryce Golden. Golden and Enzi make up a really formidable front court. The question for Butler is, can Chuck Harris return to some of the scoring that he did as a freshman and really break out here as time goes on? And can the East Tennessee State transfer Bo Hodges be able to get back to 100% and make things happen on the offensive end of the floor? But the Dogs should not be taken lightly. Neither should St. John's. They're another team in this league that hasn't fully come to form yet. But, guys, I like the way Julian Champagne's playing. He's been the top scorer in the Big East Conference and is a real tough player to defend.
What do you think about Providence matchup against Xavier on January 26th?
Well, that'll be a big game at the Cintas Center. And it's a game in which I say advantage Xavier because I think Xavier at home, tough. But Xavier, on the offensive end of the floor, Xavier has more options than Providence does. And I think that is saying something because I just listed some of the options that Providence has. But here's why with Xavier, guys. They have 7 players averaging 7 points per game or more. They really have a balanced attack. Paul Scruggs is a terrific facilitator. Nate Johnson, who is a Gardner-Webb transfer, Adam Kunkel, a Belmont transfer, they can light it up from 3. And I'm not even talking about Zach Fremantle, what he does for Xavier. And how about Jack Nungy? Jack Nungy playing with Luka Garza last year. And when he played with Luka Garza, Luka had to be the center of attention, and rightly so. But that actually limited Nungy, I think, from perhaps being a bigger standout player. Now Nungy's been that for Xavier. Xavier has size this year, which is a big difference from last year. They're a top 20 team in the net rankings. They're a top 20 team in the AP top 25. Musketeers are for real. I would give them a slight edge in that game, but Xavier Providence should be a high-level game in Cincinnati next week.
Yeah, that should be a very entertaining game, especially with Xavier being a very interesting team this year. I think them matching up against Villanova gave them a preview of what has to come against the Friars, and I think that will be a very intriguing game to watch.
For sure.
Definitely, I'm very much looking forward to that one.
Should be very intriguing, yeah.
My other question is, what are your thoughts on Creighton?
Well, I thought that they would be a team probably trending more towards the NIT this year. Instead, they're an NCAA tournament candidate. Really amazing job what Greg McDermott's been able to do. This is not the high-flying, tempo-jacked Blue Jays that you've seen in the past. This is a team that plays more deliberately, but it's a team that brought in a Division II transfer in Ryan Hawkins, who won 3 national championships at his previous stop. And he has been nothing short of incredible for the Blue Jays. He makes winning plays for them, had a huge game against BYU earlier this year on a neutral floor, a quality non-conference win. But coming from Northwest Missouri State, I just love the way that this 6'7", 24-year-old plays the game. Then you have Ryan Kalkbrenner, a sophomore, who's taken the next steps. And their ability to beat you with size is a big difference from past Creighton teams. When you think about Creighton, you think Marcus Zagorowski, Mitch Ballock, Marcus Foster, Mo Watson, Kyrie Thomas. You think of guard play. Now Creighton's changed. That's a credit to Greg McDermott for designing his team's formula around what he does have. And what he has is good size. He's got a freshman point guard in Ryan Nembhard. They've played through mistakes with him. They've figured out a way to maneuver. Just with a freshman point guard, things can be hard. Nembhard's been very good, though. I think as good as you could have expected. Creighton is a factor. They're a dangerous team, and it's a direct credit to Greg McDermott and the kind of offensive coach he is, that he's gotten this team to still have success despite losing all 5 starting players. It really says a lot about Mac.
So I got 2 more questions in mind. What are your thoughts on Baylor being number 5 in the new AP pool? And are they a team that has a very interesting effect on going to the tournament? And what do you think about them being the past 2 games they played? They have been off, and they just haven't been themselves since.
Well, on the offensive end of the floor, they don't have a whole lot in their front court, but they make up for it in the way they defend and in the way they rebound. But that can only go so far at times. What are my thoughts? Baylor should not have been in the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not acceptable to me. You go 0-2 at home, you should get penalized for that. Just because you think Baylor's one of the 5 best teams in the country when it's all said and done does not mean they should be ranked 5th in the AP poll. I disagree with that ranking. That ranking should have been 8 to 10. You lose 2 home games, you should get penalized. Other teams do. And they lost both those games because on the offensive end of the floor at times, if James Akinjo gets trapped and he gets forced into tougher shots, Baylor has trouble generating consistent offense. I think that's what we saw last week. I think we saw Texas Tech really smother Baylor defensively, and then Oklahoma State jumped out on them in Waco and never really let up. The Big 12 is the best conference in college basketball. It really is. Baylor or Kansas could win it all. But on this particular week, Baylor was off offensively, and you can only defend for so long before you start to give in. I think that's what happened, and so I disagreed with them still being in the top 5 after 2 losses.
I do too. And even as we're recording this, Baylor's playing at West Virginia right now, and kind of some of the same. They were up 30-14. Now all of a sudden it's down to like a 3 or 4 point ball game, and without Akinjo, like they're just struggling to score consistently, kind of like we talked about. And that's an issue going forward that they're going to have to address.
I agree with you, Chris. I agree very much so. I think when you look at the Big 12, Kansas will be right there. If Christian Braun and Jalen Wilson can give this team enough, Ochai does it all. I love Ochai. Sure. And will the real David McCormick stand up?
That's the big thing as a Kansas fan and watching this team. It's the first half of the season. It's not even like there were spots. It was just non-existent. Like you can get some inconsistency, but like it was just never there from him. And that was just disappointing because the way he ended last season. Last year the team was not. It wasn't that great of a team, honestly. They had a lot of issues, but he was a dominant big for us late in conference play, heading into the tournament. That really helped catapult that team to a 3 seed and give them a chance to get a little bit of hope going into the tournament, I guess. But it just wasn't the same. He had a good game against West Virginia, and I believe in the loss against Texas Tech, he was decent. But they're going to need him consistently moving forward too, I think.
Yeah, I'm with you. Totally agree with that. And it's a good take. They need the real David McCormick to be there. And if he is, watch out. Watch out. If the Jayhawks get enough point guard play, real dangerous team as time goes along.
I'm actually sitting here thinking of who's going to be dangerous in the Big East tournament. And I feel like if Seton Hall plays what they've been doing, I think they're going to be a very interesting team of upsetting and possibly upsetting one of the big teams, which is Villanova.
Yeah.
And Myers Cale for them has been great for them. And so it's just all around with the Pirates. They've been very interesting to watch.
They have been an interesting team to watch. Defensively, they had some lapses last week in the losses to DePaul and Marquette. When you take those games out, you'd be looking at a really good defensive team, top 30 defensive team. Where was that defense last week? If they defend the way they're capable of, they're really dangerous. You know why? Bryce Aiken is playing the best basketball of his college career. The Harvard transfer has been superb lately, and he put on a show at Marquette on Saturday to keep the Hall in that game, a game that Seton Hall could have won. A rough call there at the end. Greg Elliott wins it, and there you go. But I like the Pirates' length. They're top 10 in average age, so they have experience, but they're also top 10 in average height. They're a big team. Iko Biagu is an elite shot blocker, but then you have Alexis Yetna. You could throw in Tyrese Samuel at the 4, or if you want to play smaller, you can even throw him at the 5 because he can play outside. So the Pirates are an interesting group, and I didn't even bring up Jared Roden, who is such a steady presence. Seton Hall just has to find consistency. Like the hiccups they took to DePaul and Marquette, that's concerning. How will they bounce back this Saturday at Madison Square Garden when they take on St. John's? That's a big, big game for Seton Hall.
Definitely. If I got one point real quick, Alex, but I think Seton Hall, like you talked about, like to bounce back, I think they have a chance to move up in these standings still in the Big East, really put themselves at least into the middle of the pack. I would expect them to. But you mentioned that Marquette game, and Marquette's a team that's won 4 in a row in the Big East, including they had a blowout win against Providence, and like they played a lot of tough teams in December, but they only win was against Kansas State in like a 5-week span or something. I know, right? Looking, but like, what do you think's been the difference for them getting into conference play, win these games?
The difference has been Justin Lewis and Daryl Morcell deciding to put the offense on their backs at times and figuring out a way to score, because they're going to defend. Marquette will defend, and they have under Shaka Smart in his first year. But Morcell goes for 26 points, matching a career high on Saturday in the win over Seton Hall, and in the win over Providence a few weeks back, Justin Lewis had 23 and 11. So those are two guys that have to be alpha scorers for Marquette from time to time. I also think the George Mason transfer, Tyler Kolek, has continually evolved, and Cam Jones, a freshman, has been terrific in his first year. He will be an all Big East freshman team member. Cam Jones has been fantastic as a guard for the Golden Eagles. They found some guard depth. They found some different options that they can feature offensively. And I think it's just getting a rhythm under your belt. First-year head coach, sometimes there's growing pains. Here's the thing, though, guys. How many Quadrant 1 wins does Villanova have? They've got 4. How many Quadrant 1 wins does Marquette have? 4.
Look at they have 4 as well.
4.
Like, they have
Marquette's a good team.
Yeah,
like Marquette, Marquette has played a tough schedule, but this is why you schedule people. At some point, you're going to win some games, and then you benefit with the selection committee. And that's what's happening with Marquette right now.
Yeah, that's definitely very true from you, John. And I think that like it's kind of hard to put in words. It's just like the reality of college basketball is that anyone has the chance to upset anyone. If it's a Big Ten school or anyone in the country, and that's just the fun of college basketball. And I'm very much looking forward to the conference tournaments coming up, which will be very entertaining to watch, especially the Big 12 tournament and the Big East.
Big East. Those are my 2 favorite conferences, just from top to bottom. Like Kansas State has kind of been a bottom feeder, but they upset Texas Tech that Saturday, I believe. Even so, like even the bottom teams in these conferences they're gonna pull off a few upsets, even because they still have some talent.
Absolutely. Hey, this is going to be a really, really fun March. I always love talking college hoops with you guys. Watch out for the SEC too. Auburn, Kentucky's coming on with Ty Washington. Watch out for Kentucky. Dark horse team.
I think they're going to be coming up quick.
Dark horse team, and watch out for Illinois too with what they got now with Andre Curbelo back. it's a fun year in college hoops, and I always enjoy talking with you guys about it because you know your stuff, and this is going to be a really, really fun race to New Orleans.
Oh yeah, and you mentioned that Illinois team, and you mentioned the Illinois Purdue game earlier. And as I was watching that game, I was just thinking these are two teams that could be in New Orleans in April. Like I think Illinois. I really like Corbella's like his play down the stretch. Coburn being in foul trouble so much of that second half and fouling out. And I think it was the first overtime he fouled out in, but like that kind of changed the game a little bit. But they lost at home, but like I was still super impressed with how they played and some of the execution they had still down the stretch.
High level basketball game between Illinois and Purdue, and a great advertisement for the Big Ten Conference. We are in for a really, really fun season as things go down the stretch. Some dark horses emerging, superstar talent. I'm loving it, and I know you guys are too.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a very great time in the next 3 months. And I'm really looking forward to your coverage for the Big East tournament, John. And I'm just really looking forward to everything that you tweet out day by day, and keep up the good work.
Really appreciate you, Alex. Thank you so much. And Chris, awesome stuff. Love that painted Jayhawk there in your background.
Awesome.
Happy to come on anytime, guys. Enjoy the college hoops journey. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you, John.
Yep. Thank you, John.